In this tutorial, we will look at how to morph Svg images using the Inovista Animator. Morphing images means seamlessly changing one image into a different shape with an animation. In the Animator, morphing is available for converting one Svg path into another. There are quite a large range of options available to us. We can make use of paths already in the image, hidden or visible. We can use external path data, or we can change the path we use at runtime by using variables to define the paths. We can choose to move an image to the location of the new image or keep it in place. We also have the attributes option, which allows us to change colors, borders, and transparencies simultaneously. Svg morphing typically works best when converting to a similar shape. Here we see a down arrow morphing to a left then right arrow. However, relatively different shapes may be possible. The arrow morphs pretty successfully to an army helmet. In this example, two polygons morph to country-shaped images. The target paths are located in the top right of the image and are invisible. The top polygon moves to the current location of the target, whereas the bottom one remains in place. Let's take a look at one of those Svg images in an editor. In this case, I'm using Inkscape, but most editors will be acceptable. Here, what we have is a visible down arrow. This will be the source image. There are also a number of target images placed in the same location. These images all have an opacity of 0. In other words, they are invisible. Changing the opacity to 1 or visible for one of them, we can see that target path or shape. Opening the Inovista Animator, use the file icon to navigate to the Svg file and open it. Open the element tree on the left of the image and click the editor icon next to one of the hidden elements. Unselecting hide and clicking apply, we can see the helmet visible. Hide it again. Now we are going to morph the visible image to a left arrow. So select the arrow down in the element tree, select Edit and create a new transition. From the list of transition types, select Morph Path and open the transition. Note that Morph Path will only be available for Svg path types. The standard duration, delay, and easing options are available. Select the Morph Path Include checkbox. In this case, we are going to use a path from the image. So keep the Select a Path from the current image radio button. Further down, notice the selected path with no selection at the moment. Click on the node icon below this to open a list of all the valid paths in the image. We can only morph to another Svg path, so none-paths in the list will be grayed out. Select left arrow in the list, and you will notice that selected path will be populated with that element. Then run the animation to see the effect. Change the duration to 1000 milliseconds and set the easing to bounce out, and run again to see how that affects the animation. We can, of course, chain morph animations. So here we will add another morph transition. Click on New Transition and select Morph Path again. This time, let's set a delay of 500 millis of waiting after the first transition completes. Repeat what we did for the last transition, selecting Include a path from the current image, but use Helmet as the morph target. Then run. Let's take a look at changing a path at runtime by using variables. So let's edit the second transition so that the morph target is a shape defined by a variable. Here we select Use Data Variable for path values. This opens another selection asking whether we want to use an internal path or external path data. We will look at external data in a minute, so keep the variable selection. In the field below the first radio set, enter a variable name. Here let's just use path. Then open the variable value selection at the bottom and we can see our path option. This expects the name of a path in the current image. So we can enter the name of one of the hidden elements in the element tree. For example, right arrow, and run the animation. Change this to arrow up and run again to see that the name entered in the variable is driving the animation. We can make use of this variable path option in third-party products like Tableau and Power BI, or with our own code using the Animator API. We can also make use of path data that is not actually found in the image. So let's go back to the image in Inkscape. The values held in the D property of the path are what defines its shape. Each of the editors have a different technique for assessing these values. But in Inkscape, open the XML editor by selecting Edit from the menu and then XML editor. Find the path you want in the list of elements. Select it and open the D property option. When we are ready to paste the values into the animator, select all the values and copy them. Going back to the animator and again in the second transition, select Paste Path Data. This will show a text area below. Paste the path data from Inkscape into this component, then run the animation. We can see this works in exactly the same way as selecting the internal image. We can also pass this data as a variable if required, so that external tools can set morph targets as raw SVG data. Let's open another SVG image in the animator. This image contains 2 polygons and a range of European country outlines. I have created a morph transition for each polygon. In the transition for the first polygon, the Move Selection to Path checkbox is not selected. This means the source path will move to the location of the target path. The checkbox is selected for the second polygon, and this means the source path will stay in its current location. Here the image types are quite different. However, as the country outlines are fairly simple, the resultant morph is quite accurate and makes an acceptable presentation. As all morph transitions have an attributes section, we have the option of changing colors, borders, and opacities at the same time as the image is morphing. Here we change the color of the first transition, making sure the Include checkbox next to the attributes is selected. Then, for the second transition, we can edit the border or stroke. Here we change the stroke color and width in pixels. Of course, the attributes can also be defined as variables. Thank you for watching this video. Please check out our other videos for more detailed tutorials on how to get the best from the animator.